Hi, this is Mike Fauché from the BYOB podcast. I wanted to get into the final part of the RAID expansion. Now that your RAID is created and it's time to go ahead and expand your RAID, I want to kind of walk you through the steps of what's involved here. A couple things I want to point out real quick is, first of all, before you try this on your own system, make sure you back up your data. I had some issues, although I didn't lose any data. I certainly had a few trials and tribulations, which I'm hoping that everybody can avoid by having an opportunity to watch and listen to this video. In the grander scheme of things, it's not that difficult to do, but like anything else, you do have to exercise some caution. So the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, is back up your data. The other thing is that's really important is make sure you test out the drive before you attempt to put it in the array. As luck would have it, I went ahead and put a bad drive into my array, and it kind of messed things up all along the way, from hindering performance to just a few other problems I ran into. So the bottom line is test out your drive before you put it into array. I think you'll save yourself a lot of problems. So with that said, let's walk through the process and let's see what's involved. You can see here from the screen that I have basically the array, which is presently sitting at 6 terabytes, and it shows normal status. And then I have here one device, which is an extra hard drive that I went ahead and I added in. So the first thing we have to do before we can expand the array is actually initialize the drive. So we're going to go over to Manage Device, and we're going to go ahead and initialize device. Let's pick the number 5 that we added and hit Submit. And it'll say OK, and now the drive's been initialized. So we're now ready to actually create the array now. So let's go ahead and click on Manage Array, and let's go over to Maintenance, and here's where we're going to actually do the expansion. So first thing we're going to do is select RAID 5, and then we're going to hit Online Expansion. So let's click on Online Expansion. Here it gives us all the details, and now it shows us all 5 drives. So since this is actually a array migration, you're actually rebuilding the entire array. So I'm going to go ahead and select all. So it's going to put the first 4, including the 5th one I just added in, as part of the array. So we're now pretty much ready to scroll down to the bottom here and then hit Create. It gives us a prompt that says that the array's been created, so we're going to go ahead and click OK. And you can see that the migration process is taking place now. So it's actually rebuilding the entire array, and it's going to take it from the 6 terabytes, which you see listed here, and when it's all said and done, it's going to be 8 terabytes with your data intact. So we'll see what that's like in a little bit here. This is going to take in a neighborhood of probably 25 to 30 hours to complete. So when it's done, we'll see and test out to make sure the data's there and make sure that everything's working, and then we'll do the final step, which is actually expanding the partition. Okay, now that we've finished the expansion, you can now see the entire array says 8 terabytes, and it shows only one device, and it shows all 5 drives attached to the one array. Again, I want to caution you that you need to test out the drives. Don't make the same mistakes I did. In summary, I ended up putting a bad drive in there, and this is I had to repeat this process a couple of times. So the moral of the story is make sure you have good hardware when you put it in. So now that the array is built, there's a few more things that we need to do. So the first thing we're going to need to do is first thing we're going to check, and I think it's important after what I've been through, is we're going to take a look at the smart data, and this shows that it has not found any bad sectors at all. And again, on the first round, I ended up with well over 3,000 bad sectors, and that just caused nothing but grief and degraded performance. So this is all looking really good. No issues here. So the next thing we're going to do is, now that we have the array built, we're going to go ahead and we're going to expand the array. So I'm going to go ahead and close the browser here. Before we expand the partition, I want to double check to make sure the data is there and still intact. So let's go ahead and click on the file manager and let's go look at a computer, and we're seeing still our original 5.5 terabyte drive. So we're not seeing the full drive partition yet. The data is there and intact, so we can get to all of the stuff that we need to get to. So our data is still in one piece. At this point, our next and final step is to actually increase the partition size, so that we can take full advantage of the available storage. So for that, we're going to go into the disk management, and we can see, and if you don't see this, hit refresh and it'll come up, but you can see here the partition, and then you can see there's a bunch of unallocated space there. So what we're going to do is actually extend the volume. Click next. We're going to pick all available space, so we're going to hit next and hit finished, and in just a couple of seconds you'll see that we have the full allocated space given to us. So now we've grown to basically 7.5 terabytes, and that's rounded off. So let's take a look let's close the disk management properties, and let's go again back to our computer. And you'll see now it has the full storage available, and you'll still see that the data is there and intact. So we've completely expanded the array by one 2 terabyte drive, made the entire array usable. And now the final check that we need to do is to go ahead and benchmark it and make sure that the integrity of the performance is still there. So let's do that now. Okay, to double check the array, I'm going to go ahead and use ATTO. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this, and we're going to go ahead and pull open the E partition, and we're going to go ahead and run the entire benchmark, although and while this is running, you'll see, shortly at the end of the runway that the performance of the array is very solid, with very little to no degradation over the original benchmarks. And I've got some posts, some screenshots in the post, so you can kind of get an idea of what it's like. But and there you have the final results. Ended up about 295 on the write performance and about 375 on the read performance. And again, it varies a little bit over the original, but the performance is certainly more than acceptable and more than enough to tap out your network. So overall, very successful, and very pleased with the result. Hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to listen to the BYOB podcast.